All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and our latest BCBA exam practice question set, where we're going through the next set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. As always, when you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. It is Saturday and you're out with your family at the park. You get a call from a parent of one of your clients and they are frantic. They tell you the client is engaging in dangerous behavior that they have never seen before. Which of the following is true? This is just a reality of our job as analysts, especially if you're working with clients directly and serving as supervisors. Sometimes you're going to get calls and texts at inconvenient times. Now, are you under any obligation to drop what you're doing and go straight to that client's house or wherever they're at and help? No, we're still a professional client serving relationship, right? We're still in a professional client serving relationship, meaning you're under no obligation to drop what you're doing personally to go and help on a Saturday. However, if you do choose to engage with this parent, which of the following is true? So if you choose to engage with this parent where the client is engaging in this dangerous behavior that seems to be novel, what is true about that situation? A, you're obligated to go and assist the parent. Well, again, you're not, right? It's a professional relationship. We're client serving, but it's still a professional business relationship. So you're under no obligation to be on call 24/7. That's not the relationship you're in, unless, of course, your contract or something stipulates that. But in most cases, it won't. B, you should instruct the parent to put the behavior on extinction. Now, B could be extremely dangerous and an extremely bad idea because, one, the behavior is dangerous. Two, they've never seen it before, so we don't really know what the function is. We haven't had a chance to assess the behavior. Asking them to put it on extinction could mean ignoring the behavior, and we don't want to ignore this dangerous behavior if we don't know what we're dealing with. C, you should call your behavior technician and ask them to go assist. Just like you're not obligated, neither is your technician. You can call them if you want, but you definitely don't need to call them. And if they don't want to go, they definitely don't have to go. Again, it's a professional relationship that we are in. And then D, you should instruct the parent to keep the child safe. Yes, above all else, if you choose to engage in this phone call, you must instruct them to keep the child safe because we haven't had a chance to assess it, directly observe the behavior, and so there's a lot of things we don't know. What we do know is our number one priority is keeping the client safe and doing no harm. So above all else, given the information, you should instruct the parent to keep the child safe. Cynthia used to push her toy horse back and forth in the living room. Yesterday, she sat on the horse and her mom started pushing her back and forth in the living room. Now, Cynthia climbs on the horse and is pushed by her mom more often than she pushes the horse herself. What type of reinforcement schedule is represented? So we've got a reinforcement schedule question, and it appears to be a compound schedule because there's multiple schedules at play. The first schedule is when Cynthia climbs on the horse. She's pushed by her mom. The second schedule was pushes the horse herself. And the question says Cynthia climbs on the horse and is pushed by her mom more often than she pushes the horse herself. And so what does that represent to you? So if you've been studying and your fluency is improving and you're familiar with reinforcement schedules and matching law and choice, something should immediately come to mind. Because we've got this situation where we've got two behaviors on two different schedules, and Cynthia is choosing one behavior on one schedule more often than the other. What do we call that? A, alternative schedule. Well, with an alternative schedule, we've got a fixed or a interval schedule and a ratio schedule, and either schedule must be completed to receive reinforcement. It's not the case here, right? We've got two behaviors, two separate schedules that are operating on choice. And so what we're looking at is a concurrent schedule. Concurrent schedule has to do with matching law and, again, choice, where Cynthia can push the toy herself, or she can climb on the horse and be pushed by her mom. Two different behaviors, two different schedules. Cynthia's behavior is matching to climbing on the horse and being pushed by her mom more often than the other one. And then multiple and mixed are the same schedules, except one is signaled by an SD and one isn't. But with the multiple and a mixed schedule, we've got two or more basic schedules of reinforcement that are occurring in a random fashion, in a random order, one at a time. That's not what's happening here, right? Because Cynthia at any time can choose either schedule and engage in either behavior. However, she's choosing one more often than the other. Looks like matching laws in play. This is a concurrent schedule. A behavior technician says, name 3 vegetables. Her client says carrot, broccoli, cauliflower. The behavior technician then gives the client a token. The technician then says, name 2 fruits. Her client says apple, orange. The client receives a token. What type of reinforcement schedule is this based on this information? So let's be careful here. Again, another reinforcement schedule. This time we're looking at some sort of basic reinforcement schedule. And when looking at reinforcement schedules, we have to identify what is our response, right? What's the response requirement? And so the behavior technician, the response requirement is from the behavior technician, the response requirement is name 3 vegetables. And so as soon as they name 3 vegetables, they're getting a token. So name 3 vegetables is counting as a single response. Because if we look, the technician then says name 2 fruits. Again, that's one response of naming 2 fruits. And each time the client engages in the response requirement, they receive a token. And so if you're getting reinforced every time you engage in the response requirement, what type of schedule is that? A fixed ratio 1. Yes, fixed ratio 1 is a continuous schedule, and on a continuous schedule, you are reinforced every time you engage in the response requirement. Based on this information, that's what's occurring. What about B, an FR3? Well, it's not a fixed ratio 3 because a fixed ratio 3 would see the client needing to engage in 3 response requirements. And that's not what they're doing. So don't be confused by the name 3 vegetables. That's just a single response requirement. Name 2 fruits is a single response requirement. So they're not having to engage in 3 consecutive responses to get reinforced. They only need to engage in 1. And then C, fixed intervals. We're not doing this based on time. So we can immediately eliminate interval schedules. What type of reinforcement schedule is this? Well, an FR1. So based on these questions, you should identify, not only do you need to know the complex, more complicated compound schedules, but remember what those compound schedules are built on. They're built on our basic schedules. So don't neglect the foundational things, the easier things, quote unquote, because you want to focus on the hard things. You've got to know it all. Bill and Ted are collaborating on a project together. They observe the same phenomenon for multiple instances. Bill records 9 instances and Ted records 12 instances. What is the total count IOA? All right, IOA questions, calculating IOA questions. I would focus on this type of thing maybe last in your studies, okay, because it's a lot of calculation. It's not intuitive, and I don't think you want to spend a lot of time on it until you feel like you've gotten everything else solid. And so luckily, total count IOA is about as easy as it gets. Okay, with total count IOA, all you're doing is you're taking the smaller total count, which would be 9, and dividing it by the larger total count, which would be 12. And so if we do that, what do we get as our total count IOA? Well, we get 75%. And that's how IOA works. We take 2 or more observations from separate people, and then we compare them, we make a percentage, and so our inter-observer agreement would be 75%, meaning between Bill and Ted, they both observed the same thing 75% of the time. It's not 21 because you don't add up their frequency of observations or instances, and it's not 25% because we're looking for how many times they did agree. And so again, total count IOA is certainly probably the easiest IOA there is. However, with the other IOAs, don't spend a lot of time on it until you've mastered everything else, okay? Because sometimes you'll be able to work it out just by what it's called, right? But you don't want to bog yourself down in these calculations and the IOA calculations until you know just about everything else. Athena is trying out for her school's dance team. She is given a video of the dance routine she must learn. She watches the dancers in the video over and over again and imitates all their moves. Athena's behavior has what with the dancers in the video? All right, so we're looking at Athena's behavior relative to the dancers in the video. And what do we know about Athena's behavior and the dancers in the video? Well, we know Athena is trying out for a dance team. She was given a video of the dance routine. She now watches the dancers and imitates all their moves. So she's copying exactly what the dancers are doing. And when you're copying exactly what someone is doing, what does your behavior have in common? A functional relationship. In order to establish a functional relationship, I should say, there's got to be some sort of manipulation. There's got to be some sort of experiment. Nothing's being manipulated here. There's no experiment. Athena is simply watching the dancers and imitating them. So a functional relationship indicates a very strong relationship between variables. We're not manipulating, we're not experimenting. We can't say there's a functional relationship. B, reflexivity. Reflexivity has to do with stimulus equivalence. A equals A. Now, when we talk about stimulus equivalence, we're talking about typically derived relations between stimuli and the environment, right? And so just because Athena is imitating, that does not necessarily mean there's reflexivity going on, right? We don't know what the dancers are doing, so we can't necessarily say there's any reflexivity going on. What we can say is there's formal similarity. And why is that? Well, because Athena is imitating, meaning the form of her behavior is going to be the same as the dancers in the video. When you imitate somebody, you're copying the form. The form of your behavior, how it looks when you imitate, is the same as the model. The dancers are the model. Athena imitates the model. Athena's behavior, therefore, has formal similarity. Bradley's basketball team got beat by 20 points in their own gym. After the game, Bradley made his players stay late and run sprints for 20 minutes. What is Bradley using? Bradley is using what type of intervention? Well, it looks like he's trying to punish them, right? Because his team got beat by 20 points in their own gym. So he says, all right, we're going to run sprints for 20 minutes. What is this called? And this is a pretty straightforward question because this one is stated in the name itself, right? Because if we look at A, contingent exercise, that's what this is. They're exercising contingent on the behavior. You get beat by 20 points. Now we've got to run sprint for 20 minutes. The contingency is if you get beat by 20 points in your own gym, then you're going to run for 20 minutes. B, negative practice. Well, negative practice is engaging in the wrong behavior over and over. Massed practice is just like negative practice, except it's a self-management strategy. And then D, contingent timeout. Bradley hasn't put anybody in timeout. He hasn't implemented a timeout procedure. What he's done is he's made his players exercise contingent on their behavior. Get beat by 20 points, you run sprints for 20 minutes. What is Bradley using? A, contingent exercise. Which of the following is an example of socially mediated negative reinforcement? All right, let's break this down, right? Negative reinforcement question, socially mediated negative reinforcement question. So socially mediated, we're looking for something where two or more people are involved. It's not going to be somebody alone or by themselves. Negative, we're looking for something being removed. In reinforcement, we're looking for a behavior to increase or maintain in the future. So A, David's driving with his windows down until it starts raining, at what point he rolls his windows up. So what's wrong with A? Well, it's not socially mediated, right? It's automatic, so we can eliminate A. B, James is trying to concentrate while his wife blow dries her hair, so James asks her to turn off the blow dryer, what she does. Okay, is it socially mediated? Yes, we have James and his wife. Is it negative? Yes, James asks to turn off the blow dryer. She does, she removes it. Is it reinforcement? Well, it's hard to say because we don't know what the future holds, but so far B is our best answer because it is socially mediated and negative. And then C, Grayson eats all his chicken nuggets, so he no longer feels hungry. Well, again, it's not socially mediated, it's automatic. However, it could be negative reinforcement, but we know for sure it isn't socially mediated, so we can eliminate it. And then D, all of these represent socially mediated negative reinforcement. Well, we know they don't. And so B is going to be our best answer. And although we don't know the future behavior, we know two out of the three requirements are there, which is better than what we can say for A and C. It's our best answer. It's the one we want to pick. You attempt a paired choice preference assessment, but your client will not take any items from you. You switch to a free operant preference assessment instead. How will you measure preference using this method? What method are you using? You're using a free operant preference assessment. And why? Because your client would not take items from you. So what is the question really asking? And that's what we have to always identify. What is the question asking us? It's just asking us, how are we going to measure preference using a free operant preference assessment? A, offer your client one item at a time and record how long they engage. Well, A would be a single choice assessment, and we know the client's not going to take any items, so A is not a good choice. B, offer your client multiple stimuli at a time and remove each item the client engages with. Well, B is not free operant. Free operant means we're going to sit back and watch them and observe them and let them do whatever they want in their environment. B is still contrived. So C, observe the client in their environment and record how long they engage with an item. That's what we're looking for with the free operant preference assessment. You're going to observe the client in their environment. You're going to sit back, and then you're going to record how long they engage with an item. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for our study materials and combo pack. Our BCBA Practice Exam 6 has just started, so be sure to check that out on our YouTube channel. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.